You're tuning in to Missouri NEA Connects, a podcast to focus on all things Missouri education, from policy to practice, so that each of us can unite, inspire, and lead from where we are. We're happy you're here. Hi listeners, Samantha Hayes here. I just wanted to give you a quick intro on what you are about to hear. I'm very excited to introduce Prosocial Education to MNEA Connects and to all of our listeners. It is a way of approaching teaching in the classroom that promotes prosocial behavior in students. And Dr. Christi Bergin, the creator of Prosocial Education, she explains what that means, so I don't want to give anything away. And Dr. Jenn Foster and Katie Greer, who are also involved in the project, give some examples of what this looks like in a classroom. I really hope you enjoy our conversation today. This is just part 1 of 5 of the 5-part series of Prosocial Education. We will go into the intro today and then through the 4 pillars for the remainder of the episodes for Prosocial Education. And please make sure you check out the show notes because there's lots of goodies there, lots of links to a lot of programming that has to do with prosocial. If you are interested in implementing this in your classrooms, in your school buildings, in your districts, I hope you enjoy the following conversation and the following 4 that come after it. Happy listening. Good morning. You guys haven't blown away today. It is very windy outside on the day we're recording this. Samantha Hayes, Missouri NEA, professional practice. My goal when I started this podcast, to give you all context, was to do a lot of professional learning episodes. And because I came straight from the classroom, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's going to be, I can do that real easy. I can find a lot of members who want to get on the podcast and chat. And how quickly did I forget? So this is also a shout out to teachers, how incredibly busy they are and how they handle it with grace. And so I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna get so many people do it. And then I also worked in the policy land. And so the policy was easier to get on a podcast faster. And so this is my dream, to be talking about some professional practice content and getting it out there for our members, because I know they're going to love this. They're going to love Prosocial. So I'm going to let you all introduce yourselves, and then we'll get started with Prosocial. Christi, do you want to start?
Sure, happy to. So I'm a developmental psychologist, which means I do research on how to promote optimal development in children. My particular area of expertise is how to help children become more prosocial, and I am currently directing the Prosocial Development and Education Research Lab at the University of Missouri.
Nice, thank you. Jenn, you want to go?
All right, I am Jenn Foster. I work with the eMINTS National Center to provide professional learning experiences for educators around the country. And over the last 7 years now, I've had the pleasure of working with Christi and her lab in bringing prosocial education to educators. And we've been doing some really great work, and we're really excited to be here today to share.
Yes, and Katie.
So I'm the project coordinator for Christi's lab and been here almost 2 years. And I'm a former educator as well. 20 years ago, though. And I wish to God I would have had this knowledge. And, this should be in every teacher prep program in the nation, because as a 22-year-old, when you get out of college, I should have known better. So happy just to be the connector and talking with teachers again. So thanks.
Love it. Thanks, Katie. We hope you feel better. I agree, Katie. That's a good segue. I'm going to have Christi, I'm going to have you define prosocial a little bit here in a second. But as someone who now has followed your journey pretty closely in the state of Missouri, and also attended a few trainings, seen trainings to various stakeholders within the education community, I feel like I have a very good grasp obviously not as good as the experts I have sitting in front of me. I feel like I have a good grasp of what prosocial is in a classroom and what benefit it brings both to educator and student and school culture overall. Let's start at the foundation of what prosocial is, because it's something that I also, Katie, wish that, oh my God, if I would have had this, whew, man, a lot of magic, more magic could have happened in my classroom. So, Christi, I'm going to let you tell us a little bit about what prosocial is, and then I'm going to ask you a little bit about what led you to your work.
Sure. So prosocial basically just means getting along with other people. So it's the opposite of antisocial or selfish behavior. It's unfortunately a term that is not known very much among educators. So I was doing a keynote down in Arkansas, and I asked a group of 200 teachers in the room, how many of you knew the word prosocial? And one hand went up. And I asked, how many of you know the word antisocial? And every hand went up. And that tells you, what it is we pay attention to. Unfortunately, what we talk about is what we pay attention to and what we get done. And so we need to use this term, prosocial, a lot more than we do. But prosocial is any behavior that benefits other people. So in kids, in classrooms, you'll see it as respectful, cooperative, generous, encouraging or cheering on one another, helping each other. All of those kinds of behaviors are prosocial behaviors. You can see why it's really important in classrooms, but it's also important beyond the classroom, in kids' lives, beyond what they're doing in school even.
Absolutely. I don't think I could find any person that would say, I don't want that for my child or my student. I can guarantee we'd go to every caregiver and I don't think we would get the response of, no, we don't want that for our child. I love your comment about what we talk about is what action results from the discourse that we're having. So I want to know, because you asked this group of educators, what do you know? Who knows prosocial? Who knows antisocial? And we all of educators know what antisocial is. We can pick that out pretty quickly. Tell us about what led you to your text surrounding building prosocial in a K through 12 classroom, and how you're working with that text and with that work to then help shape the conversations that we're having in educational spaces.
So teachers who have been in my class while getting their master's degree have told me that what they learned has transformed the way they teach. And they've been asking me to write a book for many years, about 25 years now, but I was busy raising my 4 kids and running research projects. So I have finally gotten to it. And I wrote the book very deliberately as a kind of how-to manual for teachers. So there is some theory and research in it, so you understand the reason behind the strategies. But the intent is that it's highly practical, that you could begin implementing these strategies immediately in your classroom. And the intent is that they're very doable in any grade level, any kind of content area. It's also designed in order to maybe facilitate peer learning groups if teachers want to get together as a team and read it and talk about how they can implement it in their classrooms.
Absolutely. I thought about it in terms of the school I was at. We had very strong PLC, and we had faculty dialogues once a month. And I'm like, God, if I had this while I was there, we could have used this in our faculty dialogues. And it's just, because I read your book and I was just like, this is just so seamless because I'm someone who loves the theory, the research behind it, and also, okay, but where's the pragmatic piece? So I really appreciate that you have done that. Jenn and Katie, just quickly, I want to know how you both, thank you, Christi, for a little bit of the history of the book and how it came to be. Jenn and Katie, just curious how you all came to this work.
Well, that's an excellent question. So At eMINTS, we have been providing professional learning experiences for teachers for about 25 years. We've been doing a lot to encourage teachers to incorporate things like problem-based, project-based, inquiry-based learning in their classroom. And all of those require students to be able to collaborate and work well with others. So back in about 2014, 2015, we started getting teachers that were going through our programs, and they were coming to us saying, yeah, you're making a very strong case. We value and understand why kids need this type of learning and how it's going to support them. But the problem is the students don't have the social and communication skills to be able to get along and work throughout these challenging problems. So we began trying to consider what can we do to help. And we found Christi's research and said, let's see if we can work together to take the research that you're doing and the content from this book and turn this into a professional learning experience for educators to learn how to implement these strategies in their classroom throughout the day and just integrate it into the everyday teaching practices that they're already doing.
That's great. Thank you. Katie, how did you come to this work?
I've been in higher ed since I stopped being a teacher. I always felt horrible for not lasting, but I only lasted 2 years. And, I come from a family of educators, and it's always been, the most important thing to me, besides, my family and friends, obviously. But I quit actually working during the pandemic and stayed home with my daughter. I was a kindergartner. She's the pandemic kindergarten class. And when I was getting back to work again, I started at the university again and just applied, and I had no idea. I've always been student facing, but I like this research facing because I feel like we're making a bigger difference, or at least it feels like it's more visually, easy to see a teacher. And, all the research is backing it up immediately, showing that it's making a difference. Versus students, it takes 4 years to get a degree. You don't know how long your influence mattered. But, and I'm highly involved in my daughter's school, and I've been singing the praises and giving out the book like candy. I'm like, let's get it into more hands and just keep spreading it around is all I hope to do beyond our grant projects even. We just want to keep it going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It sounds like you're still in the orbit of education. So that's good. And your impact's being felt. Thank you. You are just, Katie, you're setting me up for all the segues. So the next piece, I wanted to kind of dabble in this a little bit, just in terms of the introduction of what prosocial is. And this is something that I talk a lot about with folks who are decision makers in education. There's research and there's evidence-based too. There's a lot of research about a lot of things, but what's the evidence that's backing it up? And I know you all have that. So can you go into, maybe not as steep into the research, because I'm going to promote your book and say everyone needs to be reading it, especially if you're an educator. It's there. I also want you to kind of toot your guys' own horn about the evidence that's coming from prosocial classrooms.
Oh gosh, I'd love to do that. I am so excited about the results that we have. So as I said, there's a 50-year research base behind the strategies that we're teaching, but we are just accumulating evidence on what happens when we actually teach these strategies to teachers and they start using them in their classroom. So we have had over $24 million in federal funding to investigate this across multiple projects. And we are using what is considered the gold standard for research, which is a randomized controlled trial. So that's where people volunteer to be in it, and then we randomize half of them into the project, then half of them into a wait list control group. We have had external evaluators, so people outside our team doing observations and collecting data. So we're doing this as solid science as we possibly can, and we have exciting results. So the results that we are seeing for teachers is they are less burned out, they have less intent to leave the profession, and they have greater self-efficacy for managing student behavior. They also have more positive teacher-student relationships. They are more emotionally supportive of students. They're providing better instructional support to students. And one that would be of particular interest from an academic standpoint is that they are reporting on average gaining about 30 minutes per week per class of instructional time because they're not having to manage misbehavior. I can't imagine a teacher that wouldn't love to have that much more actual productive instructional time without adding to the school day or adding to their workload in any way. So that's the teacher outcomes. The student outcomes are that they are more engaged. They are reporting their classmates as more pro-social and themselves as more pro-social to each other. And they're reporting higher levels of belongingness. And they also are reporting better teacher-student relationships. They like their teachers better, and they think their teachers like them better when they engage in these pro-social, and the thing that's really exciting about that, I mean, those results are just exciting in and of themselves, but especially given that right now we are seeing national trends in exactly the opposite direction, right? And so we feel like these pro-social education strategies may actually be the solution to turning around these trends of worsening student behavior and greater teacher burnout and, struggles with teacher retention and recruitment. So if we can get these tools and, these strategies into teachers' hands, I think we can really help with those national challenges.
Absolutely. I every time I hear it, and I've heard that before, but I definitely wanted it on the record, I get giddy thinking about all of those things because there is just so many points that it's hitting. Again, when I listen and I hear decision makers in education in various levels, and then see the conversation and the discourse surrounding a lot of the topics that keep coming up, but they don't know what to do. So when you're talking about teacher retention, you're talking about student outcomes, you're talking about disruptive behavior that we're seeing on a daily basis, time. And we're doing working conditions work in districts. And these are big, every single one of these are things that pop up in every district. So it's exciting to hear there is a multi-tool out there that can help with all of these different concerns and challenges that are very real in a school building, in a school district, and in a classroom. So when you think about it from macro to down to the micro level of down to a classroom, all the way down to the interaction with that student, it's exciting to hear that there is something out there beyond just the term classroom management. I understand the need for classroom management. We meddle a lot of pieces into that because I really want to ask, what is classroom management? Whenever we're saying we need more classroom management tools, what does that mean? And so this is really something that's exciting, especially seeing the success you all have had. And with, especially like you said, the gold standard in terms of research or showcasing that evidence by that third party is really exciting.
Jenn's got some examples for you.
I was going to say, we talked about teacher efficacy, and some of the data that we were collecting from teachers were that the teachers were originally coming and reporting to us that they were worried about being judged by their peers for not being able to maintain control over their classroom and over all of the student behaviors that were happening. That lack of the sense of control made a lot of them feel really isolated. They didn't have anyone that they felt like they could really talk through some of these struggles with, because they were worried about, who do I talk to that's not going to judge me, that's not going to evaluate me. So they felt very unsupported. And then they were coming to our sessions, and they have a group of colleagues which they can talk to and have these open, honest conversations. And one of the teachers came to one of our professional learning sessions and said that her students were getting really excited whenever she was missing the day, because the student, in her words, that the teacher was going to teacher therapy. And so she was having the opportunity to talk about some of these struggles. And the students were recognizing that after the teacher was at teacher therapy and coming back, they were trying new things that was making their classroom better and making those relationships even stronger in the classroom. And the kids were recognizing it. They didn't have the right terms for explaining the situation, but they could feel and sense a difference in that. And that was reported in the data that was being collected by our external evaluators. So we had that. We also have, with like the teacher burnout, we have one particular teacher, Linda, we'll just call her Linda, but she's a middle school math teacher. And she, prior to the school year, had a parent bring her son to school and say, here he is, here's Matt. I can't do anything with him at home. I can't help you with him at school. He's all yours. Good luck. And Linda was just kind of beside herself. She just didn't know really what to do. So she started off the school year trying some of the normal things that they try, and things were spiraling downward in a hurry. Linda recognized that this young man was completely derailing the learning opportunities that were happening in our classroom on a daily basis, was being very disrespectful to herself, to other students, and also felt that sense of isolation of, I don't have anybody to turn to get help with this student, and I don't know what to do. It just so happened that at the same time, she, in mid to late September, she started coming to some of our professional learning sessions to learn some of these strategies. And so she was trying some of these strategies, but things were still not great in the classroom, and the strategies were making a difference. But at the same time, Linda thought, this profession is not for me. So she actually drafted a letter of resignation and had full intentions on leaving the teaching profession during the winter break and not returning for spring semester. The behavior was that out of control, and she felt that poorly about the level of support she was receiving. A few weeks into trying these strategies, she started to notice things were starting to improve. And by parent-teacher conferences at the end of October, the mom came back and said to Linda, I don't know what you've done, but you have completely changed my son. He acts like a total different person at home. He's being more respectful to his siblings. He's even asked me if he could help do chores around the house, and he has not offered to do that in such a long time. So whatever you're doing is working. Keep it up. And Linda actually sat down with the mom and taught her some of these strategies that we're implementing in prosocial education, because these are strategies that aren't just for educators, they're for everyone. They definitely impact every relationship that you're working through. And they saw a tremendous turnaround in the young man's behavior in the classroom and out of the classroom, to the point where Linda had decided at the end of the school year to not resign. And she, in fact, is still in the teaching profession, going strong, and a very powerful supporter of implementing these strategies in education and outside. So,
Jenn, I've seen you speak in multiple instances, and I absolutely love when you bring your examples, because it makes it so real. And so we're going to use that as also a segue. I'm going to ask you about how folks can get involved after this, but I do want to give a little preview as to the next 4 episodes that we're going to have. And so that will include, the rest of the series includes an overview of the 4 pillars of prosocial education. So can you give us a quick, brief overview of those 4? And then each episode hereafter will be one of those. And each of those will have those pragmatic examples, a couple strategies potentially, and then also some ways that folks, again, can get involved in prosocial education from wherever they are.
Okay, so our innovation, so to speak, is that we were able to distill this 50 years of research on how you help children become more prosocial and more self-controlling into just a few doable strategies. So we hit the ones that have high impact, large effect sizes, and that you could actually do in a really busy classroom with lots of things going on. So the first thing that we start with is praising students. And we talk about specifically how to make that praise more effective for promoting prosocial behavior. We work on increasing the praise to reprimand ratio. So that's number one. Number two is that we focus on moving away from power assertive discipline and using inductive discipline, which is just as effective in terms of keeping your classroom under control, but is much more respectful, and it turns the control of the child over to the child more. So as you use it, they learn to become more self-controlling. We, third, work on building more positive teacher-student relationships. And fourth, we work on building an emotionally upbeat classroom.
Can't wait to go into each of those because I'm already thinking of some of the examples Jenn's given in a lot of other presentations I've seen, but then also seeing some of those sessions and professional development sessions. I can't wait to see what it looks like in a podcast. Thank you. Jenn, why don't you give us some examples or actions that folks can take and how to get involved in prosocial?
Yeah, one of the big pieces that we have currently going is we have received an $8 million grant from the U.S. Department of Education to bring prosocial education to middle schools. So we are currently looking for middle schools that would be willing to allow us to provide professional learning to their teachers. And we're working with a whole school approach for the middle school so that all of the educators in the building have a more cohesive understanding of the strategies and the practices. They have that universal language between each other so that they can work together and collaborate through this process of implementing these strategies. So we are offering that to any middle school that is interested in participating in the project, and they can go to or email us at pal@emints.org for more information, so they can get signed up to participate. We have some other opportunities there. MNEA has partnered with us on a book study. And so for individuals that are interested in learning more, they can purchase Christi's book and read that and follow along the book study that we've put together to enhance their understanding of the strategies and work on implementing those strategies in their classrooms. And then if there's other schools that are interested in bringing prosocial education to their buildings, that they can reach out to us at pal@emints.org, and we can work on ways that we might be able to bring some of this learning to them in their buildings as well.
I love it. And I also want to mention the MNEA Learns book study is free for any educator in the state. So that is not membership dependent. That is something that if you are a teacher in this state and you have Christi's book and you want to dive in, it is available. You just have to sign up on MNEA Learns, and it's there for you. Again, thinking back to my PLC days, I'm like, I would have taken that in a heartbeat. So might start just keep nudging it in all of my former colleagues' inboxes. Be like, hey, this is something that I really think you all should do. And also give them the PAL email. I will also put that in the description so that it is quick to find. Well, I appreciate all of you giving us this intro. I know it's the first one, so it was probably longer than it should have. And then we also had weather that caused some disruptions, but hopefully the weather will be more prosocial next time so it's not so disruptive. I always end this podcast. And I don't know if you've listened. If you haven't, I'm not holding that against anyone. Sometimes I put this out and I'm like, it's going to the wind. I hope all enjoy. I always like to end, and I did this with my students often. I was an English teacher, high school. And I like to do micro summaries. And so I always do a hashtag. So what hashtag would you give prosocial, not hashtag prosocial, please. What hashtag would you give for prosocial education? And that can be based on your experience. That can be based on your interactions with teachers, the results that you're seeing. I just like to summarize everything that we've talked about, your thoughts on prosocial in your own hashtag. And remember, hashtags, there is really no rules. You can make them as long as you want.
I'm going hashtag better teacher, better learning. Better teaching, sorry, better learning.
I might go with happy teachers, happy students.
Good one.
I like Christie's. Happier makes me think of, hey, if mom ain't happy, ain't no one happy. So if just change mama to teacher.
God, love it. I think I would say, from my vantage point, transformative. Hashtag transformative. Might seem basic, but I just can't imagine it getting into a classroom or into a building and not being transformative for all involved. Well, I appreciate all of you. Thank you. Thanks for indulging me with the hashtag. Hint, I'll probably ask it again with each pillar. So think about one for each. Otto hates it when I ask him each. He's like, God, you're still on this. We've been doing this for 3 sessions now. And he's like, I still have to give a hashtag at the end. It's like he would remember, but he's got a lot going on. All right. Well, I appreciate all of you. I'm going to stop recording.